Hello everyone and welcome back to more F1 Manager. Yes, we're returning once more for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live earlier on this week from Australia, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. But like I promised in that video, I'm going to try and build up some more consistency with F1 Manager. Really, I'm having a lot of fun with it again at the moment. But of course, you know, we've been very busy with some other projects on the channel as well. But yeah, definitely would recommend going back and checking out the Australian Grand Prix. It'll be linked just there, pretty much above me, actually, if I've edited this correctly. But yeah, quickly as well, though, before we jump into this, a massive thank you to all of you for the continued support on the channel. At the time of recording this, 94k, that's been ticked off. We're making good progress towards 95,000 subscribers. 100k, it's not looking like it's going to happen this year. But, you know, if you're watching this and you haven't clicked that big red button down below, it would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe to the channel nonetheless there. But of course, yeah, Albert Park last weekend was a bit of a turning point for the team. You know, we finally had some big upgrades onto the car there, and it's meant that we are now fighting for points, you know, where we would expect to be there. And after a brilliant strategy for Lando Norris, we won't talk about Oscar Piastri so much. Unfortunately, he did kind of get screwed late on in the GP. Well, up to 7th overall in the Constructors' Championship. That courtesy of those 8 points for Lando Norris, who now sits inside the top 10 overall in the Drivers' Championship as well. Fingers crossed, Oscar Piastri's first points of the year are not going to be too far away either. But we have also got some new regulation changes that needed to be voted on this weekend as well there. Now, quickly we'll go through a couple of other things then. So, driver perks for both Oscar and Lando as we head into this weekend. We'll go with smoothness on Oscar's driving, and we'll go defending for Lando Norris. Then normally I'd just top up whichever stat is lowest for any of our drivers as well. But let's have a look then. What is this new regulation change going to be then? So it's a minor technical change. And so as we know, we may change the regulations that define Formula 1's rules between seasons, yada yada, to make the sport more fair and competitive and more engaging for fans. With these goals in mind, we are proposing a minor technical regulation for the 2023 season. We want to introduce new limitations on wing size and end plate design, which will have a large impact on cornering performance. Please review these proposed changes below and vote in good time. So, we can either vote for low-speed wing changes or vote for high-speed wing changes. To be honest, I don't really feel like it's going to matter too much for us either way. I mean, if we look in terms of the cars, we want to compare it to just the grid average there. Low speed, we're pretty close. High speed, we're pretty close again. So it's not really going to have too big of an effect on us either way. You know what, we'll go for low-speed wing changes. Like I said, I don't think it's going to change too much, and hopefully we'll get confirmation in the near future as to what's going on there. So we're exceeding expectations in terms of confidence on the board as well, which is always a good sign. However, I think we've still got a few developments that are in the process there, so we should find out about the regulation change before we get into Imola. But yeah, fingers crossed though, we're going to be able to start doing some more upgrades onto the car in just a moment, as well as, oh, we need to try and create some more front wings then apparently. So we will manufacture, was it front wings? Sorry, I just want to be really careful there. I think it was where were we looking? I think, was it suspension? That's always reassuring, man. I can't remember something that happened 3 seconds ago. Suspension, sorry, was what we're looking for there. So we're just going to build up a couple more of those. We'll give them 4 more there, just in case our drivers get involved in an incident or things like that. So they should be ready towards Imola then next weekend. But yeah, like I said, we can't really do any more upgrades at the moment. We've got to wait for the new technical changes. So there we go, new front wing design has been complete, so we'll bolt that onto both cars as well. And yeah, hopefully in just one moment, like I said, we'll be able to get the all new, oh, I haven't manufactured any of those, so we need 2 of those ready for the GP as well there. So they're going to arrive after Imola then, by the looks of it. But let's wait and see then if we can actually get confirmation of the new rule changes then. Minor technical breach, minor technical regulation change. The majority have voted favour in the option below. So teams have voted for a change on low speed front wing changes. So there we go then. We are going to be seeing some rule changes ready for 2023. But yeah, let's keep fast forwarding on, and let's jump in then to the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix weekend.
The hills of Tuscany are green to the south, but here in Imola the air is red hot. Welcome to Ferrari's turf for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. The track has been around since the 60s, but the first official Formula One race was held here in 1980. Let's see what excitement lies ahead this year. This is Imola, and it's an old school track with plenty of elevation changes and lots of corners. There's only one DRS zone here, but it follows the long straight right before Tamburello and should see plenty of action. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. Let the weekend begin!
Right, oh, here we go. So, dry weekend then for the most part. We might see a bit of rain here in free practice. To be honest, the wet weather actually suited us quite nicely last weekend in Albert Park. Like I said, that was quite a crazy race. But, yeah, I mean, we're getting there with the car setups. You know, we're learning more and more. And the drivers are becoming more and more confident with the car with every passing week. So, as always, we're just going to try and make some tweaks and see what we can do there. I feel like we have to run quite a low rear wing in comparison to the front wing angle. But, yeah, we'll try some different stuff on both cars as always, and we'll see how they get on. Let me know it as well down in the comments below. I'm always looking for feedback on F1 Manager. Whether you guys like the fact, you know, I do put quite a bit of time into free practice, or whether you'd rather I kind of just skip over it and do a bit more of a generalised view. Of course, the F1 Manager videos tend to be quite a bit longer than the ones we do on F1 22 and things like that. But, yeah, you know, let me know down in the comments below. This series has always been about me trying to learn what you guys want as well. Oh, that's not what we want. Rain. Oh, apparently we're just going to get quite a short shower then here from Imola. I'm not really sure it's worth keeping both cars out. If it's going to start raining there, it's only going to last a little while, so may as well bring them both in, tweak the setup, and then send them back out when it's dry again. Well, here we go. We have got our first of our rookies then in the car this weekend. Gian Daruvula apparently ran very wide there, according to Crofty. But yeah, always quite fun as well to see some of the different drivers into the cars there. Like I said, we've got Gian Daruvula in the Alpine for whatever reason. Don't think there's any others, though, by the looks of it. Right, well, it doesn't look like the water's shifting then here at Imola. There's interesting exit out of the pit lane there for Oscar Piastri. So we're going to have to send out both cars onto a set of intermediates. But luckily, yeah, we're making some good setup tweaks. Everything like that is keeping them in check and hopefully taking the right steps forward. As looks like Haas have taken a big step as well there. Mick Schumacher running P9 provisionally. Well, it hasn't been the ideal practice session up to now. Of course, still trying to get more and more data as we go on. But yeah, it's a bit of a step into the unknown, of course, with a wet practice session when the rest of the weekend's going to be dry. But fingers crossed we can make some magic happen anyway. Well, there we go then. That's always reassuring. Despite limited running, Oscar Piastri happy with the car. Fingers crossed Lando Norris is going to feel the same. Having a look then on Lando Norris's car, still not happy with the setup. So I'm going to basically now, I mean, we've got less than a minute left of qualifying, free practice, sorry. We're just going to have to bolt him onto Oscar's set ready for qualifying. Not reassuring for our British point scorer. Well, there we go then. A testing session then from Imola, down in P14 and P18 there for both of our drivers. On medium tyres when a lot of other cars were on softs, but yeah, let's get into qualifying though. Like I said, we're just going to have to bolt Lando onto Oscar Piastri's setup. Fingers crossed it can give him a helping hand. But yeah, apparently around the higher downforce circuits, we might still be struggling. Let's get into it though, qualifying from Imola.
Welcome back as we continue our race weekend. Practice has finished and qualifying is hot on its heels. Drivers will no doubt be constantly pushing to secure a good starting place in tomorrow's race. Of course, all it takes is one momentary lapse of concentration and they can find themselves at the back of tomorrow's grid. There are always risks to be taken, but can they afford not to? Strap yourselves in. This is Formula One.
Here we are then, Saturday from Imola. Sadly, still no sprint races implemented into F1 Manager. Fingers crossed that's coming for F1 23. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a step into the unknown, like I said. Lando Norris not confident after free practice, but we've bolted him onto pretty much Oscar Piastri's setup. We've had to make a few subtle tweaks to suit Lando's driving style. But yeah, unlike Australia, where I was pretty confident, obviously making it Q2, and then of course we got quite lucky to get into Q3. Imola, I think Q2 again is probably just going to be the target. We do not have a car that's particularly suited to this venue, I fear. As Alex Albon and first car set the pace on a 1 minute 18.0. Lando Norris should hopefully be quicker than that as he heads out of the final corner. Of course, almost at pole here back in 2021, and he will go fastest for now. They're a second clear of the Williams car there, so quite happy with that. Remember, of course, in real life 2022, Lando Norris got the only podium for a car outside of the big three at this circuit, so yeah, Oscar Piastri only a couple of tenths away. I'm not convinced that's going to happen today, but you got to be in it to win it. You know what? It might not be all bad news then down at McLaren there. Looks like Lando Norris is still right on the cusp of the top 10. You know, we've kind of got those big teams, and then, you know, the likes of Alfa Romeo and Alpine definitely seem to have a little bit more there. Zhou Guanyu only 4 thousandths of a second quicker than Lando. But yeah, we might see our usual 5 going out in Q1 of both Aston's Williams and Mick Schumacher. I'm just hoping Oscar Piastri can improve on this second tour around the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix circuit, because he's, yeah, just still a little bit too close to that drop zone than I would like. Again, just watching Oscar Piastri then on his run. Green in Sector 1, a small mistake in Sector 2 there, but looks like not many cars are able to improve in that middle sector. Charles Leclerc stays fastest there on a 1:15.7. Alonso and Ocon cross the timing line, and Oscar Piastri will stay in P14 then, but still quicker than Yuki Tsunoda, so that's quite important there. Sebastian Vettel stays in P17, Stroll in 19th place still as well, so I think, yeah, we should have both cars safely through there as Lando Norris unable to improve on his second lap. But yeah, it looks like unless Mick Schumacher can absolutely pull a blinder out, or, well, one of the Williams cars as well there as they head through the final couple of turns, they're going to need a lot of time to try and make it through into Q2. Lance Stroll will get jumped though by Nicholas Latifi. We have got both cars through. Will Mick Schumacher make it into Q2? No, he will not. So our usual 15 will make it through there. It is once more both Aston Martins, both Williams and Mick Schumacher out in Q1. Well, to be honest, I'm not quite expecting Oscar Piastri to make it into Q3, but Lando Norris might just have a slim fighting chance of making it through into the final session once again there. Yeah, like I said, this track doesn't quite suit our car, but, you know, we're getting closer. You know, Alpine and Alfa Romeo, it seems to be a track that might suit them quite nicely, as well as Oscar Piastri going to be tucked up in the slipstream of Lando Norris on the run down towards turn 1. We have got one car in the way there. I think that's one of the Mercedes trying to head through the first turn. Luckily, Lando Norris will sneak by, so will Oscar Piastri there past George Russell, but still just compromises us a little bit. Luckily, though, we have got 2 fresh sets of soft compound tyres, which we are going to use both sets here in Q2. As Oscar Piastri over the course of this lap then has been able to stick fairly close to Lando Norris. We'll compare the sector times just briefly as they head in towards the final couple of corners. Half tenth down in Sector 1, about a tenth down in Sector 2. So again, Oscar Piastri just a couple of tenths away from Lando Norris as we head out of the final corner. Lando will go P2 though, quicker than Magnussen and Pierre Gasly, so that's reassuring, but Oscar Piastri slots in just behind them. Right, well, I've made sure then that Lando Norris is going to be the last car on a run here in Q2. It really does depend on what Magnussen, Zhou and Pierre Gasly are able to do. They're just a tenth covering all 4 cars there, with Oscar Piastri waiting in the wings. Maybe, just maybe, Oscar Piastri can try and spring a surprise on his final run, but we're going to stay with Lando Norris then as he crosses over the start-finish line to start his final attacking lap here of Q2 from Imola there. Still sat inside the top 10, but he is the person in danger of being dropped out in this second qualifying session. Yeah, like I said, Magnussen Zhou Guanyu not far away as he heads down in towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane there. Of course, a quick flick through the left, down a couple of gears through the right-hander as he now heads in towards Tosa. Wave to myself there on the outside of the circuit. Every time we come back to Imola, I've got to say that. And there we go, Lando Norris up in Q1 at the moment there. But Oscar Piastri just a few hundredths of a second away as well. So Oscar Piastri certainly improving. Ocon stays in P9. Fernando Alonso seeming to get everything out of that Alpine at the moment. Moves up to P6 there. Zhou Guanyu will stay in P11, so we are quicker than at least one of the Alfa Romeos there. Pierre Gasly, he will, however, move up to P10, so Lando Norris is in the drop zone at the moment. Will Kevin Magnussen improve and potentially push us even further down, as Lando Norris does not improve in Sector 2. So this is going to get very, very tight as we head down in towards the final couple of corners. Where will Oscar Piastri be able to go in the other McLaren car? Oscar Piastri up over the line. He will stay in P14 by the looks of it, but Lando Norris, can he make it through? Yes, he will. 1,000th of a second there. Quicker than Pierre Gasly. Lando Norris, you love to see it. And look at that then, it does not get closer than that in the world of Formula 1. Just 1/1000th of a second between Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly there at the end of Q2. But we sneak by the second weekend in a row that Lando Norris has made it into Q3 there. Oscar Piastri only a 1/10.5 away, but 4 cars separate him from Lando. We're only going to get 1 run in Q3, but fingers crossed Lando Norris can make it count. I'm going to put Lando Norris into a bit more clear air here, but unfortunately, yeah, Ocon, I think Max Verstappen have both left it incredibly late to head out for their final Q3 runs here, but Charles Leclerc is the one with the pressure on his shoulders, of course. Ferrari's home Grand Prix, their factory just a couple of miles down the road there, and Carlos Sainz currently fastest, but Charles Leclerc 5 seconds off the pace. Must have made quite a catastrophic error on his run, but not really sure we're going to be able to go quicker than anyone else here in Q3, but we'll try and monitor the times for Lando Norris nonetheless. He is only going to get the 1 run, so the pressure is on, but what a storyline it would be if Charles Leclerc made another mistake and we could somehow sneak by ahead of one of the Ferrari cars there. Of course, we did actually beat Charles Leclerc last weekend, but that might have been because he got absolutely taken out by Valtteri Bottas, who currently sits in P7 there. Fernando Alonso seemingly able to get everything out of that Alpine at every single opportunity at the moment. They're just behind both of the Mercedes cars, but through the final couple of corners then goes the Alpine at the front of the field. We'll talk about the rest of the grid as we watch Lando Norris go round. One of the Alpines then across the line, it is Fernando Alonso, and he will stay P6 there. Bottas stays in 7th place. Carlos Sainz doesn't improve there, but will stay on provisional pole. Will we see Charles Leclerc getting competitive on the board? Yes, he will. And Charles Leclerc goes fastest then, onto a 1:15.7, but Lando Norris heads down in towards the final couple of corners, just a 1/10 of a second covering our top 3. Sergio Perez there will stay 4th. George Russell will stay P5 ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton, and Hamilton will improve there to take P5 away from him. Lando Norris, he will go P10. All we could really do, just 0.5 away though from Esteban Ocon. You know what? We'll take it, as we'll wait and see whether Max Verstappen can try and upset Ferrari's party. Up over the line for the Dutchman, and he will stay in P3. Max Verstappen fails to improve at the end of qualifying. And there we go then, final Q3 results. Like I said, wasn't really expecting anything more from Lando Norris there, but only 1,000th away from his Q2 time as well. So Lando starting inside the top 10, Oscar Piastri just outside there. There's always the opportunity to try and mix things up low. Let's get into it, Emilia Romagna Grand Prix.
Tension continues to build here as race day begins.
McLaren did a decent job during qualifying. This is a solid grid position, and it certainly has the potential to lead to good race results. AlphaTauri's qualifying results were in line with the targets set out for the team. They certainly have the potential to achieve a good result here today. We've been having sunny weather here today, but there are some clouds looming that might complicate things for teams further down the line.
Meanwhile, in the grandstands, the red wave is swelling. So let's find out who wins the day here at Imola.
Right, well, here we are then, Emilia Romagna Grand Prix time, and I really just got the feeling that this one could get quite interesting there. But like I said, we're going to try and split up the strategies a little bit this afternoon. We're going to try and get Lando Norris running quite aggressively early on in the race. So we'll start him on the softs, and then we'll bolt on probably, I'm guessing, a set of hard tyres to go through to the end there. Of course, 63 lap Grand Prix, so that seems to be pretty fair. I always forget to save my setups on F1 Manager. It's not the best thing to do, but I need to remember to actually click Create Strategy as well. So we'll select that one for Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri, we're going to go mediums to hards there. Of course, often uses his tyres a bit more than Lando as well. And, maybe, actually, you know what? We'll try it even more differently for Oscar Piastri there. What we'll do, if I can actually click the right button, is we'll go the alternate, and we will go hards to mediums for Oscar Piastri there. So about 40 laps on the hards, the final 20 or so on the mediums there. Means he can go quite long, but hopefully, as I again forget to click the right button, There we go. That one should work. So, yeah, we're going to try and go quite aggressive then with Lando Norris. Like I said, Oscar Piastri not so good at looking after his tyres. We'll top up the cars with fuel as well. Just means they can attack a bit more during the Grand Prix. But, yeah, looking forward to it, though. Let's get into it here from Imola. It's time to try and score more points.
I don't want to tempt fate, but there are quite a few clouds overhead as we look at the lineup on the grid. And there is Lando Norris. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. And it's the other McLaren. They're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. The race start is mere seconds away. All eyes are on the race here at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. It's lights out, and away we go.
Well, there we go then, lights out here from Imola, and Ferrari, of course, starting with both cars on the front row. We're going to have to try and monitor, though, our cars as well as we head down in towards the first corner. Lando Norris trying to get his elbows out immediately with Esteban Ocon. There is Oscar Piastri. I think the goal for him will just be to try and hold on to positions early on. As look at that, Oscar Piastri immediately past Kevin Magnussen. So I wanted him to just try and hang on. I was not expecting him to make up progress at the start of this Grand Prix, but we will absolutely take it there. As look at Oscar Piastri trying to go for a move now on Pierre Gasly even out of the first couple of turns. Can't quite pull off that one, but straight around the outside of K-Mag down at the first corner there, and absolutely love to see that from our technically #1 car. I'm still a little bit worried that we can't swap them around here, but Lando Norris under immediately quite a bit of pressure from Zhou Guanyu. Of course, the Alfa Romeo, we know how quick that car is, and yeah, Zhou Guanyu a little bit gutted not to make it into Q3 yesterday. Tyres, though, it's a complete mixer. Nobody knows what's going on here in Imola. We've got plenty of cars on softs, we've got plenty of cars on mediums, and even a few on the hard compounded tyres as well. There is Carlos Sainz, has got the jump on Charles Leclerc immediately at the start of this race, but he's going to have to try and go long on those hard tyres there. So Charles Leclerc is going to be keeping his teammate under a lot of pressure early on in this Grand Prix. I don't think we can see, sadly, who's gained and who's lost on this opening lap there, but Lando Norris stays in P10. Oscar Piastri up into P13. Could the hard tyres be the key here today for Oscar as he tries to keep up with Pierre Gasly in front of him? I feel like Lando Norris is going to be watching his mirrors a bit more as he tries to keep Zhou Guanyu at bay. But yeah, Oscar Piastri is a step into the unknown, but hopefully, you know, as we slowly learn what our driver's like, you know, in terms of how badly they use the tyres, things like that, we can try and tailor-make their strategies even more. So Yuki Tsunoda immediately then making a mistake on just lap 2 of this Grand Prix. Tsunoda locked up at turn 12. Did he just hop over the chicane? Under no pressure whatsoever, and Yuki Tsunoda just goes for a picnic. Why not, eh? I suppose, Yuki, go for it. Treat yourself. So Tsunoda down to the rear of the field. DRS has been enabled. Luckily, both of our cars are still within the DRS range of the car in front of them. But yeah, Magnussen is applying increasing pressure on Oscar Piastri. He is on the soft compound tyres as we head back down towards turn 1. Will Kevin Magnussen be able to do anything, though? We know how good the top end speed is on this McLaren. No, he will not. Oscar will hang on for now. So there we go. Kevin Magnussen has made the move on Oscar Piastri. I apologise. As we'll see, yeah, just down towards turn 1 there. Unfortunately, yeah, Oscar lost out the DRS to the car in front of him, so it was always going to be a bit of a sitting duck situation. And Oscar Piastri back down to P14, but if he can stay close to K-Mag, it's not the end of the world. We may as well use the soft tyres against the Haas. It really does feel like Lando Norris has taken quite a leap forward with this McLaren at the moment. Still under pressure from Zhou Guanyu, but able to hang on just inside the DRS range of the cars in front of him. We'll just put him up on the overtake mode for a brief moment to make sure we stick within that window, as trying to just monitor everything early on in this race. He's going to have to box earlier than most cars, but oh no, he's just lost the DRS. Please say he's going to get back inside it as we head through the final couple of turns. It's going to be mighty close. I think he has lost it at the final corner there. So now Lando Norris even going to be under pressure from Zhou Guanyu as we head back down towards turn 1. Of course, he's using the battery though, can keep him at bay for now. But Lando, yeah, is just going to have to try and push on a bit as Zhou Guanyu thinks about it. Zhou Guanyu is going to make the move through turn 1 there, so that's not quite what we needed either. Lando Norris is going to come back at him off the corner, but he's lost the place. We may as well sit behind him. We're still in a position at the moment where we want to try and avoid fighting other cars because it's worth it in the long run. As Lando Norris gets jumped, let's just try and settle in. So here we go then. Things slowly starting just to neutralise a bit more in this Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc apparently ran wide down at turn 17 though. Very, very weird place to make a mistake, and will get back on the circuit, but under a lot of pressure from his teammate Carlos Sainz. The Ferrari battle at the front might just have halted for now there. But yeah, Lando's sticking in the DRS of Zhou Guanyu there, who's just ever so slightly losing touch to his teammate in the Alpines. Oscar Piastri just in a bit of no man's land at the moment, you know, cruising around doing his thing. Of course, yeah, he's going to be quite quick towards the end of the race with a bit of luck, but yeah, might be worth just burning off a bit more of the spare fuel and trying to keep pace with a lot of the cars around us. Oh, there we go, first pit stops underway then, so Oscar Piastri now back up into P13 there, Kevin Magnussen into the pits, so he's going on to medium tyres. So is Kevin Magnussen trying to do a two-stop here? It wouldn't be the first time we've seen cars trying a two-stop Grand Prix so far this year, as it looks like, yeah, all of those cars going on to mediums. I don't believe 47 laps on that set of tyres is going to be doable, so maybe even more this race can come back to us, as Lando Norris still sticking with Zhou Guanyu, but won't be long before the McLaren is into the pits, and he'll be going hards to the end. Lando Norris into the pit window. We're going to try and keep him out just for a couple of extra laps there. You want to get the tyres down to about 35% wear, if possible. But yeah, Imola are a bit like real life. It's kind of all calmed down at the moment. We've just got both cars doing their thing, and hopefully, yeah, it's going to come towards us later on if more drivers are on a two-stop. Lando Norris then, yep, we've definitely gone far enough on that set of tyres. We will box him in at the end of lap 22, so he's on 1/3 distance then, just over on that set, which is not bad going. It's a shame no one ahead of him has boxed already in this GP, as yeah, we can see Bottas there now has lost the place to Esteban Ocon, so it seems like Alpine have certainly just got the edge over the Alfa Romeos at this stage of the game. But, you know, that's where we really want to be battling towards the end of this season. No, it is going to take a lot of development, it is going to take a lot of work, but that's really where we need both of our cars there, as Lando Norris peels into the pits. Fingers crossed he can get a nice, clean, tidy stop, as yeah, Oscar Piastri as well, looking after the rubber on those hard tyres quite nicely. I'm hoping we're going to come out ahead of Alex Albon in that Williams car. I think he is on hard. No, Alex Albon is on mediums there. So at least, yeah, we know sort of what Lando Norris is doing. It is actually going to be quite close with Albon on pit exit here. Here comes the Williams. So we head back down towards turn 1. And no, sadly, Albon will get us. We're ahead of Kevin Magnussen though, but we need to try and get back past that Williams. Fingers crossed that is not going to take long. We'll flick Lando up into the overtake mode out of the final corner. And let's just wait and see then if he can try and swoop past his former rival from Formula 2 there. Alex Albon going to try and go a bit defensive as we head back down towards turn 1. It doesn't really look like Lando Norris has got enough top-end speed here. Come on, Lando, you got to send it. As Lando Norris will have to sit behind him for another lap. Right, here we go this time round though. Lando Norris straight to the inside of Alex Albon. There looks like Kevin Magnussen's going to try and get involved as well. We could really do with Albon holding up Kevin for a lap or so. But Lando now back up into P13. He's 18 seconds behind Oscar Piastri. But of course we've got to worry more about what the likes of Zhou Guanyu are doing. It might only be 1 point available to us the afternoon, but still 1 point is better than none. Here we go, starting to see a few more cars then into the pit lane. Pierre Gasly, Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso have all boxed, so is Charles Leclerc a little bit further back. So where is Lando going to be out then relative to these other cars? He is definitely going to be ahead of Pierre Gasly there, which is quite important. But yeah, we're still really just worried about what Zhou Guanyu's doing, obviously on his medium tyres. We need to have a bit of an advantage over Zhou, but looks like a lot of these guys are going on to hards towards the end, so we shouldn't have too big a pace deficit either. In the perfect world for Oscar Piastri, we're going to see a lot more of these cars box and then get a safety car, but I'm not going to count the chickens. So there we go, Zhou Guanyu into the pit lane as well, so this is the moment of truth for Lando Norris. Could we be back up in towards a points paying position here? I'm trying to work out, of course it's Oscar Piastri, isn't it, that the other car at the moment that hasn't boxed yet in this GP. So Piastri now up into 8th place. They're still doing a fantastic job on those tyres. Might be able to get him to push on a little bit more on that set of rubber later on, but here comes Zhou Guanyu then out of the pits, and Lando Norris will get the jump on the Alfa Romeo there by a good couple of seconds, so that's reassuring to see. Now we just got to try and keep him there towards the end of this race. We've still got more than half a Grand Prix to go. Things seem to have calmed down quite a lot at the moment, but there is plenty of more that can still happen here at Imola. So we've got yellow flags out immediately. Is that Yuki Tsunoda again? Yes, it is Tsunoda, not having a fun afternoon of it. And Sonoda off into the gravel down at the final couple of corners. Could not get the car slowed down. And yeah, just Sonoda. It's about the third time we've seen him lock up today, so not reassuring. And he's now going to get in the way of Carlos Sainz as well. No, it's not, sorry, it's Charles Leclerc there. So Sonoda really is just a pain for everybody. Well, half distance then completed in this Grand Prix, and the gap to Zhou Guanyu is coming down, but not too dramatically at the moment, as Oscar Piastri is still intrigued to see what he can do later on in the afternoon. But yeah, I don't really want him to lose up too much time defending from the likes of Fernando Alonso, Valtteri Bottas and co. But maybe, just maybe actually, if he can try and drag those cars back towards Lando, that could be quite handy. But I don't really also just want to keep screwing over Oscar's races just to try and help Lando Norris, because even when Oscar does pit, Lando will be back inside the top 10, and I'm not convinced he'll have the sticking power to stay with those Alpines anyway. About 10 more laps though before Oscar Piastri comes in. He's going to go mediums to the end, and fingers crossed, yeah, try and close up the gap to some of the other cars. Oscar Piastri loses one spot to Fernando Alonso. I've just told Norris just to up the pace slightly there, as Gasly now ahead of Zhou Guanyu, so there's mistakes coming in for a few other cars here, and that's working out really nicely for Lando Norris. We know we've got the pace over Pierre. We proved that yesterday. But yeah, this is starting to shape up quite nicely for us right now. Oscar Piastri then into the pit window. I'm going to tell him to try and hold the cars back just a little bit, as Mick Schumacher apparently has binned it down at turn 7. The Hatter having a bit of a nightmare later on in the afternoon there, as Mick Schumacher, is he going to bin it down at Tosa? Oh, just locks up the front inside wheel. Has done a Lewis Hamilton into the wall there, and that was quite a big crash, Crofty. You're absolutely right, but yeah, Mick Schumacher really struggling to get to grips with that Haas car, and that's going to set him further back down the order. As Oscar Piastri then just trying to defend from Valtteri Bottas at the final couple of turns. I think if Bottas gets him now, we may as well just box Oscar onto a set of the medium tyres to see him through to the checkered flag, as Valtteri Bottas round the outside he'll go. Still got a bit more top end speed in that Alfa Romeo. We will be fighting with them soon, Oscar. Don't worry about that. But yeah, we're going to box him then at the end of this one, and he's going to then bolt on a set of mediums to the checkered flag. He's got to gain about a pit stop though on Lando Norris if he wants to score points here, but he is doing a fantastic job still. Because yeah, now just under a bit of pressure from Esteban Ocon in towards the final couple of turns. If we can try and hold up the Alpine there, and Oscar Piastri absolutely hasn't, sadly held up the car behind him. So into the pits he's going to come. Lando Norris will re-inherit 10th place in this GP, but yeah, Pierre Gasly maybe still a little bit upset about what happened yesterday there. He is starting to close in the gap on Lando ever so slightly, so we have got to monitor that late on in the afternoon. Kevin Magnussen in for his second stop of the day, so Piastri should re-emerge there in P13. He is going to be a lap down though on Carlos Sainz, who championship leader, is dominating this Grand Prix ahead of Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc trying to close back up to the Red Bull as Hamilton sat in P4. So Oscar Piastri will re-emerge once again. He's going to be a good 25-30 seconds away from the points, but he's doing a good job. You know, he's still a rookie, remember, going up against Lando Norris, one of probably Formula 1's fastest drivers, I genuinely argue right now. Oh, Hamilton apparently has gone off now down in Sector 1. Still not seeing any safety cars, though, at the moment. So, yeah, a lot of driver errors, but Hamilton, has he done exactly what he did back in 2020? Under pressure from Sergio Perez, I reckon he has. Yep, Hamilton's locked up and did exactly what he did a couple of years ago. So, not out of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, but if he's lost a lot of time, and he is trying to go out without a front wing, you know, I'm sort of looking there as Lando Norris. Oh, that's Yuki Tsunoda, not Pierre Gasly, so that's reassuring then. I was going to say, didn't realise we'd lost that much time, but yeah, Hamilton's got a box, Verstappen's in. You know what, yeah, of course, some of these guys might still have to pit again before the end of this GP, so this could work out quite nicely for us. It's a shame it's not Alpines or Bottas, to be honest, because even if Hamilton does pit, we're probably still not going to be out ahead of him. So here we go. Lando Norris apparently has ran wide down at turn 2, but he hasn't lost any time to Pierre Gasly, so I'm not going to worry about that one too much. Still just trying to make sure we burn off all the fuel by the end of this. But Charles Leclerc now leading the Grand Prix, but Carlos Sainz is on a set of soft compound tyres, I think, so that's going to get quite interesting towards the end. Has Leclerc potentially snuffed away a victory from his teammates? It's Oscar Piastri, last car still on the lead lap, and he is taking good time out of Zhou Guanyu. No, he's not. He's 18 seconds back. I think No, he's not. He's 12 seconds back. I don't know what's going on at the moment with F1 Manager, but 18 laps to go. We're getting in towards the final quarter of this Grand Prix, and it's just fairly calm as of right now. I still feel like Yuki Tsunoda is compromising us a little bit of time late on in the day, as George Russell now trying to also make moves back through some of the cars he shouldn't really be battling with, including the driver that, of course, he replaced down at Mercedes there. But Lando Norris should stay on the lead lap, I think, by the end of this Grand Prix, or it is going to be quite close. Oscar Piastri, though, unless he can gain a bit of time through some of the other cars being lapped there, might not quite have enough to get back to Zhou Guanyu. It's in towards the final 5 laps. We really are getting towards the end now of this Grand Prix. I'm just going to flick both drivers up into the aggressive push mode. As yeah, Pierre Gasly has brought that gap back under 3 seconds. It's now just over 2. But he's about to have to let one of the Ferrari cars by there. I think that is still Charles Leclerc leading this race. But the battle at the front, Carlos Sainz is absolutely flying here. 4 seconds covering those Ferrari cars. The battle for the win is not over just yet. That might be what we want to monitor towards the end of this race, of course, because the AI tend to lose a bit of time trying to lap each other and various bits and pieces like that. Could we still see a change for the win? Both drivers just moaning a little bit about tyre overheating, but I hyped up this Ferrari battle. Not quite going to go down the way we wanted it to, as it looks like Charles Leclerc is going to have enough on that set of the hard compound tyres even, for Charles Leclerc there, but Lando Norris still sat up inside the top 10. Oscar Piastri down in P13. I do still feel bad for him. You know, he's still learning everything like that. You know, he's still a rookie, but now we've got a car that is right on the cusp of the top 10. It feels like Lando Norris has got a good fighting chance most weeks, but Oscar Piastri is still just a little way away there. But I mean, 63 laps. The fact he's only 10 seconds away from Lando Norris is still pretty commendable at the moment there. But Charles Leclerc, of course, after a rough Australian Grand Prix, he's not going to retake the lead of the Drivers' World Championship, but he is certainly going to get a whole lot closer there. And Max Verstappen still just feeling like Red Bull lacking a bit against those Ferrari cars, a bit like we saw during our Ferrari career mode as well, of course, on F1 Manager. But Charles Leclerc then through at the chicane, of course, where he bottled it in real life 2022, the first signs that Ferrari's season might become unravelled there, of course, back at Imola. Where else would it happen for Ferrari other than their home Grand Prix? Charles Leclerc, rounding the final few corners, he is going to claim the win here at Imola and get 25 points on the board. Carlos Sainz will get fastest lap and finish just a couple of seconds away. But through the final couple of corners, Lando Norris rounds the final turn. It's going to be back-to-back points finishes here for McLaren there. That's what we love to see. Lando Norris crosses the line for P10. Oscar Piastri rounding the final few corners, not far away from his teammate. Oscar, I promise you, those first F1 points are very, very soon.
And that's good enough work from Lando Norris this weekend. McLaren showed some good stuff here today, but they'll be building on that now to try and improve their results next time.
They've displayed some moments of quality here. All they need now is some fine-tuning to achieve great things.
After the race, they sit in 7th place in the constructor standings.
Coming up next, the teams will be taking a trip to the Sunshine State. The Hard Rock Stadium is laying down the track for a captivating race at the Miami Grand Prix.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix there, and Charles Leclerc will take home the dub ahead of Carlos Sainz there. Max Verstappen ahead of Sergio Perez, Hamilton in P5 ahead of George Russell and Fernando Alonso there, with Bottas, Ocon, and yep, our boy Lando Norris rounding out the top 10. Still a lap down to those Ferrari cars, which I'm not a big fan of, but, you know, it is what it is there. No one inside the top 12 finished higher or lower than when they started, which goes to show, you know, maybe the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix was not the most exciting in the world there. Oscar Piastri, of course, made that move on Kevin Magnussen by turn 1 and just stayed ahead of him throughout the rest of the afternoon there. Mick Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel and Albon all jumping. Yuki Tsunoda had a bit of a nightmare ahead of Stroll and Latifi there. But that means Drivers' Championship, we do gain an extra point on Pierre Gasly there, but we're still losing out to Alpine and Alfa Romeo each week at the moment, so we have got to be a bit careful of that one. Got to be careful as well of Esteban Ocon behind us in the Drivers' World Championship there, as Charles Leclerc back up to P3 ahead of Sergio Perez, still though 23 points behind his teammate Carlos Sainz, but there is a lot of this championship to play out. Count back for Oscar Piastri means he rejumps Mick Schumacher, and constructors-wise then 1 point now between us and AlphaTauri. Of course, the board want us to finish P6 overall by the end of this season, and I certainly feel like that is doable as well. There's Ferrari, rejump, Red Bull at the top of the standings. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well. And we will be back very, very soon for round 5 of the F1 Manager Career Mode. We'll be back in Miami early next week. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.